Welcome to the twice monthly meeting with Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. Please note that our meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, will continue to be available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phone or other electronic devices that might ring or beep during the meeting. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information package that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. In addition, I believe there's some hard copies of the agenda. If anybody would like to have one. Before we begin, I want to note we've got a lot of wonderful guests here tonight, and Ms. Gruber is going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I do want to recognize our former mayor, Joe Dominic, is with us tonight. Mr. Mayor, it's a pleasure to see you. It's been a while, isn't it? Nice to have you here. Did you have anything you want to say, Mr. Mayor? Anything? No, I'm good. Okay, very good. So glad to give you that courtesy. Obviously, you won the mayor's cup on us. Okay, very good. All right. First, we'll consider the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the Mayor and Common Council special meeting of November 15th and the Mayor and Common Council regular meeting of November 22nd. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Then a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Kavachi. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We have three presentations tonight. The first, sorry? You do. Sorry. Yeah. The first is a presentation of the Fall Fest charity partner checks, something we always look forward to. And for that, we'll turn to Ms. Gruber.
Yes, thank you all for being here tonight. We look forward to this time of year, first because we survived Fall Fest, which all of our charity partners out there can understand, and secondarily because it just seems like a great time of year to present these very hard-earned donations to the charity partners that were such an integral part of the festival. And with that said, I'd like to turn it over to the mayor.
All right, thank you. So I think I'll just stay right here to start since it's going to get crowded here in a second. So it's my pleasure to present tonight 4 very deserving charity partners with donation checks for their efforts in organizing and running multiple facets of Fall Fest in 2021. For those of you who may not know, Fall Fest has been around since 1978. It is an annual 4-day event held in Westminster City Park and the adjacent Longwell parking lot. For many, Fall Fest has become a tradition that symbolizes the end of summer. The festival helps attendees usher in and celebrate the cooler, more colorful days of fall. With visitation reaching approximately 30,000 people, Fall Fest would not be possible without our charity partners' dedication and volunteer support. 4 nonprofit partners are selected through an application and interview process in January. Once selected, the charity partners are tasked with various event-related details and due dates. Partners must attend monthly meetings to discuss progress, challenges, and triumphs, all while they recruit and schedule 8 volunteers an hour for every hour Fall Fest operates. Simplified, that equals 1,280 volunteers total, or 320 volunteers per charity. This evening, the charity partners receiving donation checks are the Westminster Municipal Band, Special Olympics of Carroll County, Potomac Case Management, and MCQE Mobile Pet Pantry. Because none of our partners know how much money they will be receiving, we ask that the representatives from all 4 organizations please come to the front so we can present your checks at the same time. Abby is going to hand you your checks. Please don't flip them over until everyone has their checks, and then you can look at the check amount.
So if I could have Special Olympics and Potomac Case Management go over to this side of the room, and the band and MCQE over at that side of the room.
I know. It is very
Spotlight.
drum roll or something like
That's
that.
right. We really should have a very
Don't look at
dramatic
your checks.
drum roll. Yes. Cannot look at your checks. All right. Go. Go. All right. Everybody has them.
Right. So on the count of 3, we'll allow them to look at your checks. So 1, 2, 3. Right, so I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you for your dedication and hard work, and your partnership with the city and with Fall Fest is priceless. At this point in time, if anyone who's representing the organizations would like to say a few comments, the floor is yours. We can start at either end.
We're very appreciative of our
Yes.
Thank you very much. This is going to help us pay for our new band we had to buy this year.
Yep, perfect. Yeah.
And on behalf of Carroll County Special Olympics, thank you.
And I'm not a Carroll County native, so I got to learn a lot about the community through participating on behalf of Potomac Case, and such an exciting community to be a part of and a fun event. So thank you for welcoming me specifically, but Potomac Case and all the support the community gives.
Wonderful, thank you. Just last, Fall Fest wouldn't be possible without community partners. Like, hey, how are you? Sorry, it's been a number of years since we've seen. Fall Fest wouldn't be possible without community partners such as you guys. So thank you so much for your support of this event. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mayor Becker, could we have you pop up and just at either side of the room so that we could get.
Can we do this side first since this is a little closer? I'm gonna say something.
This group, while we're doing the pictures, is this the largest individual checks that we've done?
Almost, within $100.
I thought it was. That's wonderful.
You should have sold a couple more scarecrows.
Not so friendly now, huh?
I knew Beth could take it. Thank you again, Fall Fest partners. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting. You certainly don't have to, and feel free to hang on to your big checks if you have any use for those, but make sure you get your real check on your way out the door, because I don't think the bank will cash those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you all. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
All right, very good. Well, that was it. That was fun. Always fun to give away money. Good job, Ms. Gruber.
Thank you.
The next presentation is of the Miracle on Main Street Holiday Electric Trade Winners. And Ms. Gruber, we're back to you again.
Yes, and again, I would like to welcome here this evening representatives from our 3 category winners during our Miracle on Main Street Parade. I'm sure you can all agree this was probably one of our brightest parades on record. We had some really fantastic entries, And this is the judge's choice represented here tonight. So I will turn over the award presentations again to Mayor Becker. And when your name is called, you can come up, and Mayor Becker, I will actually feed the award in through the doorway to you. So that way.
Okay, gotcha. All right, sorry. Okay, so what we had to confirm real quick. All right, so it's my pleasure to announce the winners of the 2021 Miracle on Main Street Electric Holiday Parade. A panel of 3 judges consisting of local business owners assessed each parade entry on theme, detail, and brightness in the following categories: Best in Brightness, Spirit of the Season, and Main Street Champion. All winners receive a $100 gift card, a trophy, and of course, bragging rights. All right, so first, I'd like to recognize Lynn Wimmer, accepting on behalf of Carroll County Veterinary Clinic for their winning entry that earned the award for Best and Brightest. You're welcome. There you go. You get, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
It's a great Christmas sweater.
Thank you. It is a great Christmas sweater. All right. The next award goes to Lauren Bumstead and Jeannie Vargo with the Carroll County Realtors Association for their entry that best reflects the spirit of the season. All right, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to recognize Merritt Athletic Club as the Main Street champion. Accepting tonight on behalf of Merritt Athletic Club, we have Sherry Lively. A big thank, oh, sorry, go. Congratulations.
Big thank you to all of you and to all of our 2021 parade entries. Your creativity, time, and attention to detail make this parade a proud Westminster tradition. The Miracle on Main Street Holiday Electric Parade could not exist without your support and participation. And speaking of support, on behalf of the City of Westminster, I'd like to extend our sincerest gratitude to Mark Diggs-Baraspi, owner of Interstate Battery, for his steadfast support of this phenomenal community event. Interstate Battery provides power sources for all electric parade entries. The Interstate Battery staff are members. Members are available on site at the parade lineup and disbandment to help safely illuminate and break down the floats. Many thanks to all of you and warmest wishes for a joyful holiday season.
Thank you, Mayor. And finally, the last presentation is the Mayor's Cup Storefront and Holiday Window Decorating Contest winners. Mayor Becker.
Okay. So here's we're going to hoist this up in a second here. So it is my pleasure to announce the winners of the 2021 Mayor's Cup Storefront and Window Holiday Decoration Contest. The Mayor's Cup is a longstanding contest recognizing the decorative storefronts and windows of downtown Westminster businesses on display during the holiday season. Businesses were asked to have their displays completed in time for the Miracle on Main Street event. Displays are recognized for several holiday-based themes, and the Mayor's Cup is awarded to the business with the best overall display. This year, 11 businesses offered eye-grabbing entries, and as always, making it difficult to select a winner. First, I'd like to recognize the business winners of the holiday-based theme awards. Sterling Water for Best Traditional, And also, I would like to add best use of a scientific theme. If you haven't noticed, they are water molecules that are hanging in their window. So do stop and check that one out. There might have to be a science category. Westminster New and Used Furniture for best non-traditional. Rock Salt Grill for best kid and photo friendly. And if you haven't checked out that display, you'll notice that the batting in the front is held down with oyster shells as well. Flowers by Evelyn for the best window display, and Lux Boutique for the best brightest display. The Mayor's Cup for the overall display is awarded to the spa on West Main Street. The Mayor's Cup has been engraved with the name of the winning business and can proudly be displayed inside the spa on West Main Street for the rest of the year. The Common Council and I would like to thank all of our downtown businesses for their decorating efforts. Their storefronts and windows captured the spirits of the holidays and beautified downtown Westminster.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mayor Becker.
I was gonna say, we don't have a representative from the spa on Main Street here this evening, but
It's quite a trophy.
we will hand them off their trophy
Yes.
after or before the end of the week.
But yes.
Yes.
Well, our crowd seems to have disappeared. When the money's gone and the awards are gone, the crowd goes too.
Careful.
Joe and Lindy.
That's right. Now we got a few folks. No public hearing this evening. We have on the consent calendar, we have one item. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Then a motion by Mr. Dayhoff. Is there a second?
Second.
Then a second by Mr. Cavazzi. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
You first say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the consent calendar is approved. And now it's time for our report from the mayor.
All right, so I have a report this evening. So first of all, it's been a while since we've met, so I do want to just talk a little bit about the Miracle on Main Street event that we had. I won't go into it a lot of detail. I think maybe some of my fellow council members may also like to have a few comments about that event, but first and foremost, thank you to all the city staff who made that event possible in every way. I know that events such as these are a combination of work from everyone within the city staff. Thanks to Mrs. Gruber, who made us comfortable in the carriage with the blankets and the hot chocolate. It was a cold evening. It was very much appreciated, and the cookies was very much appreciated. Associated with the holidays, I'd just like to say thank you to the council for supporting my initiative for the holiday parking, for the free holiday parking on Main Street. I've heard from several residents and non-residents of the city who have taken advantage of that during the week, and they've appreciated that. I'd also like to say thank you to the staff for responding for a somewhat short notice request to find a menorah for the holidays. That happened within a short period of time when Hanukkah was very early this year. But I have received a lot of positive comments as well from residents, members of the city who have noticed the menorah that has been on display during the period of Hanukkah. On December 1st, several council members, Councilmember Dayhoff, Councilmember Gilbert, Council President Pecoraro, and Councilmember Cavazzi attended the groundbreaking at the new East Middle School that is going on. Also, Mr. Depo and Ms. Gerhard were there as well. I thought the groundbreaking was very nice. I made some comments about collaboration, but I think the comment that will be most remembered was that the year the building became East Middle School was the year that I was born. That seemed to be the highlight of my comments. No. On Wednesday, November 30th, I took part in a LEAD training. The LEAD, if you're not familiar, stands with Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. This allows officers in the Westminster Police Department to assist individuals with, to allow them to give individuals assistance with sustained clinical intervention instead of the normal criminal justice cycle. It is at their discretion, and of course, the individuals have to meet certain requirements. The training was led by staff at the Carroll Health Department and Captain Nikki Hewer of the Westminster Police Department, and I found it to be very informative for this program that's offered. December 4th, there was an historical marker unveiling, which honored Mary Shellman up in front of the Carroll County Historical Society. You can't miss it. It's right on Main Street. It's purple. The base of it to represent the women's suffrage movement. And it was well attended. It was an honor to be included in the unveiling. And then finally, last but not least, shortly after Thanksgiving on Friday, November 26th, we had the opening of the holiday farmers market. There's one weekend of that left, this Saturday and Sunday. The market is open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So stop by, check out the holiday items that they have there. And also I want to recognize Councilmember Gilbert, who was there on December 4th and 5th doing a collection for Carol Food Sunday, sponsored by the City of Westminster and the Maryland Municipal League. That is my report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's great to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Missed you. So.
I wanted to let
Sure.
you. Yeah, it was prior to that. I was.
It's still good to have you back.
Thank you. I'm appreciate to be seen.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to see you. Time now for reports from standing committees. I'll lead off as we always do with the report from our Arts Council liaison, Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. On December the 6th, the Carroll County Arts Council announced the winners of the 24th Annual Festival of Wreaths. This year we had 102 unique themed wreaths. The silent auction went on for 10 days and raised $13,000 for the Arts Council. These funds help support the Arts Council's mission of culturally enriching Carroll County all year round. So that was a great success. And then also I want to call to everyone's attention that in January, we're going to have a great documentary series at the Carroll Arts Council. This year, the documentary series is going to be on January the 7th. It's going to be a documentary on Jimmy Carter. On January the 14th, there's going to be a fascinating documentary on James Baldwin. On January the 21st, there's going to be a documentary that I'm really looking forward to. And Mr. Mayor, you might want to check it out also. It's going to be about an 85-year-old sushi master in Tokyo. So that ought to be pretty interesting. And then there will also be a documentary on January the 28th on a group from Alabama called Muscle Shoals. Apparently, these people do a great job with creative music. I think that's all my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Next, the report of the Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hawkins.
Mr. President, we have not had a meeting since our last council meeting, but we will be resuming our meetings once we get to the first of the year. But we have been working hard. As you can see from tonight's agenda under Ordinances and Resolutions, because 3 of the items there are all things that we discussed in economic and community development. I would also like to give a shout out to the job that staff is doing as far as the downtown business meetings are going. We had another one on December 6th, and obviously that doesn't directly fall under my committee, but being related to economic development is something I'm very passionate about. And I think staff is doing a wonderful job with getting those meetings going again and working with our downtown business community. So I just would like to highlight that. And that's all, Mr. President.
All right, thank you very much. I have nothing to report on behalf of the Finance Committee, Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Kavachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I'd like to start off with introducing our new Police Administrative Services Manager, Mr. Jay Landsman. He's here in the audience with us. He comes to us from Baltimore County Police Department, right? He was a colonel, which is pretty impressive. It's unlike the military, there aren't a lot of colonels in police departments, so that's a extremely high rank, probably equivalent to a general in the Army. I read his resume, and then listening to what the chief has had to say, it seems like we're extremely fortunate that he happens to live right here in Westminster, which is probably part of the reason he came to work here. So we got very lucky. The chief has already expressed that he's just in a short period of time already making a difference. And I'm not surprised after reading up a little bit on your background. So I think we're very, very fortunate. And I know the chief is very excited about some of the things he's going to be able to do in this new position. So I think, I think it's great that we were able to allow the chief to make that happen and make this hire. I think it's going to pay dividends in a big way, particularly because Mr. Landsman being in that role. The 19th annual Shop with the Cop is coming up. So that's always a big deal. And I don't want to steal the chief's thunder, so I'll let him probably talk a little bit more about that when he does his report. Chief also let me know that he's been working closely, continuing with the overdose data to action partnership that we have with the health department, and also met with former council president, Dr. Wack, who now holds a pretty significant role over at the health department. And they're working together on a number of things. So that's great. You're able to do that. 11 Westminster police officers attended the Catherine's Cause Remembrance Ceremony. So that's a wonderful thing that they did that. That's a worthwhile cause. It's drunk driving related, working against keeping that from happening, which is a good cause. And then also the chief participated in the Boys and Girls Club fundraising event that raised over $100,000 on Giving Tuesday last week. The chief won, and did I bring this up at the last council meeting? So I won't go into detail again, but he won and took the plunge anyway for our sheriff who talked him into it and came in uniform to get out of it. So they raised over $100,000. The department's also acquired $13,000 in grant funding to go towards the body worn camera program. So we're very proud of them for that. So they're, as they always are, very busy. They made some good arrests. My military police term coming out. We said apprehension, not arrests. So they've made a lot of good arrests and continue to work to keep us safe. Crime continues to be, at a very low level, and that's in great part due to the work that they're doing. So thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi, and let you roll right on into Public Works.
Public Works will be shorter. Just a couple of things. A couple of water main breaks at Tuck and East, right there near East Middle School. A sewer forced main break, which is much nastier than a water main break, on 140 over Goodyear. Another water main break on Bayberry Court. So they've been busy fixing piping, which they always are, but I think this was a particularly busy couple of weeks. Also, just a quick note that the contractors are working on the water tower at McDaniel. It's an exciting project that, I think is going to look fantastic. It also is saving us some money. And it's a wonderful thing for the college from a branding logo perspective. So I'm excited to see that done. So they're in the process of working on that now. And of course, we're keeping an eye on things to make sure it's done right to our standards. That's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. And nothing to report from the Technology Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, skip Recreation and Parks. You're right, thank you. Recreation and Parks, Mr. Bayhawk.
Well, I think much of the meeting has already been with Recreation and Parks. So I don't think I can add to that report. It was a great presentation. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right. Time now for council comments and discussion when council members get a chance to bring up anything that's on their minds, whether it's on tonight's agenda or not. And we'll begin with Mr. Bayhawk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for the menorah. I really appreciated it. I've also really appreciated the Downtown Business Association meetings. They've been done extremely well. Ms. Imholtz has done a great job. Thank you very much. And I've gotten great feedback from the merchants about the involvement of the city, Ms. Imholtz and our staff with the local merchants, and that's good stuff. A big welcome to Mr. Landsman. Thank you for coming on board. I'm a police chaplain, so I work with a lot of Baltimore County police officers. Catherine's Cause. The Westminster Police Department was extremely well represented for Catherine's Cause, and I really appreciated having them there. I also enjoyed going to Starry Night with Mr. Kavachi and Mr. Huff. That was a lot of fun. A lot of events this time of the year. It's a great community, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
I will begin with, wanted to extend a huge thank you to Brooke for her work with the holiday market. I know, Mayor Becker mentioned, the holiday market, so I'm not going to extend too much into that. But I know it takes a lot more extra time for her to do and organize the holiday market, and it's been terrific. I'm looking forward to its growth next year. To continue on the holiday theme, I just wanted to also thank all the staff for their work on the Miracle on Main Parade. It was just great seeing the crowd and the people and the lights, everything. Having that break this past prior year, it was great to see it back and return to our Main Street. I want to thank Deputy Chief Gibson on organizing another community focus group this about a week and a half ago. I'm sure the chief will elaborate on his report a little later, so I'm not going to take too much time into that. It is just great that he gets together a lot of community members for that focus group. Carol Can hosted a great holiday event in King Park. They had a guest speaker of Westmore, and they encouraged a lot of shopping local and dining at our local restaurant. It was great, just to informal get together, and they did a great job. So I wanted to thank the organizers for that. And I also wanted to comment on the historical marker dedication. Mayor Becker did a great job speaking, and she also provided a little lesson for our Commissioner Wallstein while she was I won't elaborate on that one either. I'm keeping my comments as short as I can. I was excited to see a lot of our restaurant and business owners at our last community business meeting on the 6th. And I wanted to thank Ms. Imholz for doing a great job communicating with our business owners and getting that team approach from everyone. So I look forward to seeing what's going to happen down the road next year with our downtown. And lastly, I am at the end. I wanted to thank everyone who contributed to the food drive that was occurring at the holiday market. We collected about $90 on 125 pounds of food that went directly to Carroll County Food Someday. So look for us next year with a little more publicity, maybe far more ahead of time this year, so that we can collect more things. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Mr. Kavachi.
Just want to wish everybody happy holidays.
Thank you. Mr. Hoff.
My comments are few. I just wanted to, again, the parade was an awesome event. I had a great time. And I think that's one of the great things about Westminster are the kind of events that we have in our downtown, whether that be, Flower and Jazz, Fall Fest, or a parade. For a city of our size, we really have some wonderful events for our citizens, and this was yet another one. So, great job to staff in that regard. I think it really helps to make Westminster unique. And then I wanted to kind of give a shout out to Ms. Imholz and staff. I was contacted by 2 different people over the past 2 weeks with some specific issues related to their properties or concerns within their neighborhood. And I reached out to her, and she was very quick with getting the appropriate staff people connected to those people. And both people have commented back to me how happy they were with the fact that, they were quickly communicated and that work was being done to address their issues. So I really want to, express my appreciation to Ms. Imholz and our staff for getting on those kind of issues, because those quality of life issues, I really believe, are really important to a city like ours. And then finally, I would like to I love the holiday season, and I hope everyone has a awesome time with their families and really enjoy a lot of Christmas and New Year's cheer. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. I don't want to repeat all the things that everybody's just talking about. There's a lot of good things happening, but I did just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, welcome, Mr. Landsman. Your arrival was highly anticipated, and we're very, very pleased to have you. I know the chief is very pleased to have you, so that's good news that you're here on the job. I also wanted to say, although a number of people have mentioned it, and I want to mention it because I was specifically asked to by a business person here in town who said that they've been attending business meetings under various guises, over many years here in town, whether it was the Downtown Business Association or the Greater Westminster Development Committee or all kinds of other things. And they said the meetings that Ms. Zimholz has been leading are the best, most well organized, and most useful meetings that he has been able to attend in Westminster. So thank you, Ms. Zimholz, for finally figuring out how to make that work, because a lot of other previous city employees have tried and it didn't go as well as it's going right now. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have two ordinances and 2 resolutions this evening. The first is approval of ordinance number 938, an ordinance amending chapter 164, zoning and subdivision of land of the Westminster City Code to amend Article 1, general provisions, section 134-3, definitions and word usage, to add a new definition of satellite automobile storage, to amend Article 10, IR restricted industrial zone, section 164-54, special exceptions, to provide for satellite automobile storage, excluding car washing facilities as a special exception use, to amend Article 20, special provisions, to add section 164-155.5, satellite automobile storage, to provide new standards for the grant of satellite automobile storage in certain zones, and to amend Article 22, Board of Zoning Appeals, section 164-166, action prior to hearing, to repeal section 164-166F. Mr. Depot.
Thank you.
Ms. Levan makes me read all that.
I would have had to do it anyways.
That's right. One of us has to.
On October 11th, 2021, Ordinance 938 was introduced to the Mayor and Common Council. The Mayor and Common Council discussed the appropriateness of satellite automobile storage lot use in the IR zoning district and supported the proposed automobile storage lot use and draft language. Furthermore, the Mayor and Common Council supported removing section 164-166F, requiring all petitions for special exceptions to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Subsequently, the Mayor and Common Council referred Ordinance 938 as introduced to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation. On November 18th, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Ordinance 938 and reported a recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council to approve the ordinance as provided in attachment 1 of this report. The Planning Commission did not recommend any revisions to the ordinance as introduced to the Mayor and Common Council, and as of today, staff has not received any public input on the proposed ordinance. Staff recommends that Ordinance 938, as provided in attachment 1 of this report, and as recommended to the Mayor and Common Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval on November 18th, 2021, be approved by the Mayor and Common Council. That completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 938?
Make a motion.
I will.
Approve ordinance 938.
I'll second.
Been a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Hoff. Mr. Hoff, you're the chairman of the committee. Would you like to make any comments?
The only comments I'll make will be brief because we have discussed it at a prior meeting. Really, the first, it's really 2 separate issues under one ordinance. But the first issue with the satellite automobile storage is really just a business-friendly provision to allow existing dealerships within the city of Westminster to have the ability that they don't outgrow their space and have the ability to have a satellite auto storage lot. And it would only apply to a dealership that is already within our municipal boundaries. So again, it's just trying to be a business-friendly, to our existing businesses. And then number 2 is just a technical change and we hadn't been doing it in practice, at least in my understanding. But when Ms. Ruff, I believe, who's the attorney that represents the Board of Zoning Appeals, was going through the code, she noticed that technically anything that goes in front of the BZA is supposed to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for comment. And quite frankly, discussing that with staff and just from a process standpoint seemed to be a little silly and take unnecessary time. Because really the BZA is independent of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And unless they need feedback from Planning and Zoning is kind of unnecessary. So that's just removing that particular step from the process And I don't think we had really been doing it in practice, because when I was on BZA for years, I never remember receiving comments from the Planning and Zoning Commission about a case that was coming before us. Those are my only comments, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Anyone else wish to be heard tonight on this? All right, thank you very much. I think Mr. Hoff did a good job of summarizing it. And thank you, Mr. Depot. Hearing no further discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 938, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the ordinance is approved. Thank you very much. The next item is approval of ordinance number 939, amending chapter 164, zoning and subdivision of land of the Westminster City Code, Article 25, site plans, section 164-211H, lapse of approval to add section 164-211H2 to allow for a 1-year extension to an approved site plan. Mr. Depot.
Thank you. Now we'll elaborate on this one a little bit more. The draft text amendment as amended proposes to add new section 164-211H2A, allowing the zoning administrator to grant only one-year site plan extension from the date an approved site plan would be otherwise lapsed. Add section 164-211H2B, allowing the planning commission to grant only one-year site plan extension from the date of an approved site plan would have otherwise lapsed. Now, this is in addition to the 1-year zoning administrator extension. So at the total, you can get 2 years for extension. In both cases, a property owner or developer seeking the zoning administrator or planning commission extension must submit a written request to the Department of Community Planning and Development Director. And any extension request is limited to site plans approved during the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2022. On October 25th, 2021, Ordinance 939 was introduced to the Mayor and Common Council. The Mayor and Common Council supported an automatic extension of 1 year from the date the site plan would otherwise be null and void for site plans approved during the COVID-19 pandemic period, due primarily to the lack of available workers and supply shortages. Furthermore, the Mayor and Common Council supported the option of allowing an additional 1-year extension based on merit. Subsequently, the Mayor and Common Council referred Ordinance 939 to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation. Prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, Ordinance 938 and hearing for Ordinance 939, and to address the Mayor and Common Council's comments and recommendation from the October 25th meeting, the ordinance was amended to allow the Planning Commission to grant an additional 1-year extension, as I previously pointed out, to an approved site plan. Again, the Planning Commission 1-year extension would be in addition to the initial 1-year site plan granted by the zoning administrator. On November 18th, 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Ordinance 939 as amended and forwarded a recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council to approve the ordinance as provided in attachment 1 of this report. The Planning and Zoning Commission did not recommend any revisions to the ordinance as introduced to the Mayor and Common Council and further amended. And as of today, staff has not received any public input on the proposed ordinance. Staff recommends that proposed ordinance 939 provided in attachment 1 of this report and as recommended to the Mayor and Common Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval on November 18th, 2021, be approved by the Mayor and Common Council. And that completes my report. We're available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 939?
I will make a motion to approve Ordinance 939.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's been a motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Dayhoff to approve ordinance number 939. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Hoff.
again, as chair of the committee, I just want to mention, again, it's just being done specifically related to COVID and the impact it's had on some of our local businesses' plans when it comes to site plans. This is just a business friendly action. I think Mr. President, I think you were the one that was suggesting adding on the additional option. I think that's a great idea. Basically, the first extension It just has to be requested, it will be given. But then if someone needs an additional extension beyond that 1 year, I think it makes sense for them to have to come to planning commission kind of to explain, not that planning commission wouldn't potentially grant it, but that's not automatic. That's a process they would have to go through. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Defoe, on that.
That's correct.
That's how we've structured it. So again, just trying to help businesses with the impact related to COVID and to be sympathetic to some of the delays that has caused for a lot of people in their projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Anyone else wish to be heard? What? No. So I just had one question, if no one else wishes to be heard. When we originally discussed this in the Economic and Community Development Committee, and then when we discussed it at the council meeting, the idea of the additional year that would be based on some justification was that, the director of planning, would be able to grant that first year, kind of automatically, as we said. And then additional time, because water is precious, so we want to make sure it's going to be used in a timely manner. But that would come back to the mayor and council. And now I see that, I guess in the planning commission discussion of this, they decided that they recommend that it be the planning commission that make that decision instead of the mayor and council.
No, that I misunderstood. I wasn't sure if you wanted to take it back direct to the mayor and common council or just have a merit process. And being that the planning commission officially approves the site plan, bringing it back to them, I thought was a more logical approach, but it can certainly be changed.
I'm fine with it being the planning commission. I just, we had talked about, my thought had been the mayor and council because the water, since it's basically a water issue, and since it's the mayor and council that are making the water allocation decision, that it made a certain amount of sense for the mayor and council to make that as part of their larger, thinking on allocating water, while it's still in short supply. But, certainly staff can advise the planning commission on, other uses for that water if there's somebody in line, who's, ready to go. I think that's just something we need to keep in mind that, the reason for doing this is because while some people may have a good reason why they're delayed, and it may be a good enough project that we want to make sure it doesn't have to go back and get in line again. At the same time, we want to make sure that the planning commission, making the final judgment here, is aware of other needs that may be, kind of ready to go and teed up. So I just want to, advise that I think that that's important for staff to remember to keep in mind as they discuss it with the planning commission.
We'll shorten in the report we take before the planning commission will make that clear. And again, I apologize. I missed the mayor and common council discussion, bring it back to the mayor.
That's right. I'm not looking for more work for the council.
Mr. President,
I'm glad to keep the planning commission busy. That's fine.
We can make that change. I understand what you're saying. We'd have to discuss what the process would be on that because I'm not familiar with how.
No, we would just amend it, but I'm fine with the way it is. I just wanted to make sure that, I understood, sort of how.
I'll be at planning commission. So if one of these comes, I'll make sure that we'll have a thorough discussion about water.
We will count on you.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we have it there.
Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
I would rather change it, but Mr. Huff, you're okay with it?
I don't have, in all honesty, Mr. Dayhoff, I don't have strong feelings. I can look at it two different ways. In some ways, yes, we probably have a better overall understanding of the water allocation issues, but I think from a process standpoint, to a certain point, it makes sense to go back to planning and zoning commission. So it's not for me like it's a 50-50. I understand the pros and cons either way. So I don't have strong feelings about it because I think it's just
I see the mayor and Mr. Kovaci are also nodding their heads. Okay. If it doesn't work, we'll change it.
Yeah. And I'm fine with this. I just understand.
I just understood
how we've gotten to this point. That's all.
I understood that it was going to come back to us. And when I read it, I guess I was a little surprised. But I'm okay if that's what you all want to do.
Thank you. All right, hearing no further discussion, are you ready for the vote? All those in favor of approving ordinance number 939, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and ordinance 939 is approved.
Thank you.
Next item is adoption of resolution number 21-09, Westminster Tree Commission's recommended city tree plan. Mr. Depot.
So I'm going to turn this over to Andrew, as he is the one who worked with the Tree Commission for this project.
All right, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Madam Mayor, President Pecoraro, and members of the Common Council. Nice to be in front of you today. I just want to give a brief summary of the item. Pursuant to section 148.6A in your city code, it talks about the duties and responsibilities of your tree commission. In that, it mentions that annually, the tree commission shall present to you all a written plan for the care, preservation, and pruning of street trees and public trees in the city. In February of 2019, the tree commission presented and the mayor and common council adopted the first ever comprehensive tree plan for the city of Westminster. In 2020, the tree commission didn't think that there needed to be an amendment to this plan. However, this year, the tree commission did think that there should be an amendment. That with putting the land surface temperature, normalized difference vegetation index, and surface elevation information in the tree plan. In September of 2021, your tree commission voted to approve the plan and bring it in front of this body. The plan, which I think is wonderful, in developing the plan, we wanted to make it as the city's urban forestry program as transparent, also highlighting the many awards and accolades that it achieved, and also an educational tool for the public. So that is all I have. If you have any questions about anything in the plan, I am here. Thank you, Mr. Depot, Ms. Imholz, and thank you all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gray. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 21-09?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Dayhoff. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Kavachi. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
I just ask a quick clarifying question. So the only change to the pre-existing one is the addition of the heat maps. Is that correct for this one?
You are correct, Madam Mayor, and also some minor tweaks and adding new things for 2020 and 2021, the accomplishments.
And the heat maps is what you presented to us at a prior meeting, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. When I looked through, I thought it looked very familiar. So, okay. Right. Yeah. So no, I think that I think seeing your work incorporated into this is helpful. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot there, Madam Mayor. I was
Did I
going to
take your
compliment him
chance?
on his master's thesis and how that got incorporated into this document. I thought that was pretty cool. But I did have one other thing. So in looking this over, I noticed one of the things that was in here was we had some heritage tree locations. And we also talk about maintaining street trees and city trees. Are those heritage trees part of that process as well?
The heritage trees are trees that are on private property.
Yeah, in full disclosure, one of those trees is on my property. So that's why I was kind of curious about that. I have the holly that's talked about in here. It's supposed to be the largest holly in the state of Maryland, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. People come and trim holiday
I know.
holly trimmings off of it all the time. But hey, sorry. So I was curious that was not part of that. That's not considered a city tree.
You are correct,
Okay.
Councilman. The city trees are in the city right away.
Okay.
On Main Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, Toma Farm Road, and also in the parks.
Okay. Got it. That's it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? I had a question, and you may not know the answer to this, Mr. Gray, and it's been a while since we've had a visit from the tree commission members. But there was some discussion some time ago about the actual trees that we have on the streets, and there was some concern raised that the trees that we had were probably, that might not all be the right trees to have in an urban landscape like that. Has any further discussion been had about that? And is there any discussion about changing the tree? I mean, they're pretty big, you know, to chop them down, but, you know, I don't know how you go about doing this, but, you know, is there any discussion about, you know, what the right tree is and, you know, how we manage that going forward?
There's not really been many discussions with that with the tree commission. Mr. Depot and I did have discussions about when is it the right time, or would it ever be the right time to remove some of the trees to try to phase them in and out. So instead of the trees getting large upheaval of the sidewalk causing problems, to try to keep that process sort of, I'm trying to the word, but I think you all know what I mean, sort of cycling the trees. We haven't had any discussions, once again, with the tree commission, just internally between Mr. Depot and myself, Mr. President.
And if I could, I'm sorry, the concept, especially in Main Street, as we're moving forward, the Downtown Business Association, looking at what we can do with downtown Main Street sidewalks, improving it. Trees is certainly one of the elements we're going to look at. As you mentioned, we wouldn't just go up and take out some and drop down, because there's other things we need to check out. Gas main locations, which we don't really have that much information about. There's trees over or around them, as well as other utilities. So we'll be part of that much larger project that we're going to be looking for Main Street. We want to definitely get into the street trees and getting the right ones there.
Okay.
Mr. President, as part of the walk that we had with the senior staff from Pennsylvania to Longwell on Main Street, we looked at the trees and the tree boxes, and we're taking inventory of those and making determinations as to the best way to move forward.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
Mr. Gray, don't we refer to the DNR's street tree guide? I believe we do by reference. So that should take care of that as far as what trees we're recommending and what trees we're not. I worked on that a number of years ago. I was just looking for it and I'm not sure that I saw it. Is that in, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, sir.
I believe I would have to get clarity with the city arborist. I'm not sure if that is the case or not.
Okay.
I do know with the street trees, if anyone were to remove a street tree, it would have you.
That's the
pursuant to the Roadside Tree Act.
Roadside Tree Act.
Right.
Yeah, but DNR has a recommended street tree list. I worked on it a number of years ago when I was with DNR. And I thought we deferred to that by reference.
Not that I'm aware of.
That would be the best way to do it because it's constantly changing. I mean, Zelkovas are now getting the scale and they're not necessarily recommended any longer, for example.
Councilman Dayhoff,
Yes, sir.
if I may. Back about 2 years ago, when the tree plan first went through in the city code in chapter 148, there was information on trees that were recommended trees.
Mhm.
When the tree commission looked at that, when an ordinance was passed, I forgot the number, but it was a couple years ago. The tree commission decided instead of having a list of trees that were appropriate to be planted, to have a list of trees to sort of flip that to not be, that would not be appropriate. I think one of the ones,
Bradford pear, Pyrus Calorianum.
the ginkgo.
Mhm.
So I think that's, there were large trees, and I can't remember the actual title, but in the code, it used to reference that. And the tree commission wanted to take that out. The mayor and council adopted a resolution to remove that.
Yeah.
And then refer to the tree plan, because the tree commission thought, hey, it would be easier instead of amending the ordinance if we could just amend the tree plan and go from there.
Because it's constantly changing.
Exactly.
It's constantly changing. President, no further questions.
All right, thank you. All right, so no further questions. We move on to the vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 21-09, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the resolution is adopted. Please give our thanks to the tree commission for a good job.
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, adoption of resolution number 21-10, amendment to the Housing Authority's Administrative Plan. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Greetings to you, Madam Mayor, and members of the Common Council. You have before you Resolution 2110, and allow me to give you a little bit of background that led to this resolution. As you know, the administrative plan outlines the policies and procedures for the operation of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. When COVID hit, it impacted the overall operations of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And this happened to housing agencies throughout the country. HUD recognized that this kind of thing was going to impact operations, and then laid out a number of waivers to normal HUD regulations that would allow the housing authorities some flexibility in their operation during the pandemic. And they gave housing authorities until December the 31st to amend their plans to reflect those changes, even though they may have taken advantage of those changes earlier in the year. So our agency did take advantages of some of those plans and did not make the amendments to the plan accordingly. Some of those changes that we took advantage of was to allow the owner to self-certify that the units met housing quality standards. We also suspended housing quality controls inspections and the use of platforms like Zoom, Teams, and other things in order to conduct briefings. Briefings were supposed to be conducted in person, or was inferred that they would be conducted in person. In addition to those, we also took the opportunity to make some amendments to the plan that dealt with income reporting requirements. For example, removing the threshold by which one must report new income from $500 annually up to $1,000 annually. So all of those changes are outlined in Exhibit A. And if you like, I can go through those very quickly. On page 71 of the plan, we would add in language which states that when conducting oral briefings, the housing authority may conduct oral briefing telephonically, as well as using Zoom, Teams, or similar platforms. So that would be a change to the plan. On page 85 of the plan, we had added the language which states that during a period of national, state, or locally declared health emergency, the housing authority of the city of Westminster may allow the owner to self-certify that unit meets housing quality standards. The housing authority will subsequently inspect the unit as soon as practical after the declared health emergency has been lifted. And on page 85, which deals with the annual inspection, singular language, which says during a period of national, state, or locally declared health emergency, the housing authority may allow the owner to self-certify that the unit meets housing quality standards. The housing authority will subsequently inspect the units as soon as practical after the declared health emergency has been lifted. On page 87 of the administrative plan, we add the language which says that during a national, state, or locally declared health emergency, the housing authority will suspend quality control inspections and will resume quality control inspection as soon as practical after declared health emergency has been lifted. And then on page 92, we would add language which basically has to do with an owner's ability to raise their rent, and just summarizing that when an owner makes a rent increase, they have to basically give the housing authority a notice of what it's going to be. The housing authority then have to negotiate with them to state what that amount would be. And if it is unreasonable, the owner must either reduce the requested increase to terminate or terminate the tenancy in accordance with the terms of the lease. And then on page 99 of the plan, we're just making a change. We're showing that interim recertification will not be completed for increased changes for less than $1,000 annually. This change to the plan required a 30-day comment period. The comment period started on November the 5th concluded on December the 6th. It was advertised on the website as well as the Carroll County Times. At the conclusion of the comment period, there were no written comments to the plan. So it's our recommendation that the mayor and council approve and adopt the resolution 2110 that would enable us to amend the administrative plan. I'll answer any question that the mayor or council may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. May I have a motion to approve, or a motion to adopt, rather, resolution number 21-10?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
There's been a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Hoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Move on to discussion. Mr. Hoff, did you wish to be recognized?
Yes, Mr. President. The only comment I wanted to make is that Mr. Brown brought this in front of Economic and Community Development. And we went over these changes as well. These are all kind of housekeeping changes, or the ones that are not housekeeping changes make complete and utter sense. Economic and Community Development was supportive of these changes. So.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Ms. Gilbert.
I just have a question, I guess, on the changes that we're doing. I'm assuming they're just separate and pertain to City HUD, and they're not the same changes or anything equal to what is going on in county. So that recertifications, and when clients or folks look at it, they'll see the difference. So there's no changes if your income is less than $1,000, but that's only pertaining to city. That is not pertaining to county. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi.
So the requirement to report a change in income, is that total household annual income change?
Yes, so that is, if you have income coming in and it doesn't go above that limit, you can let us know, but it doesn't result in any change in anything.
Understood. Thank you.
Great. Further comments, discussion? Right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you for taking the initiative to catch us up with these things. I presume, or I guess my only question would be, when we are finally on the other side of the pandemic, you will come back to us with a change back to in-person, standards for all these things.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay.
Mr. President, I do have one more question.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned that. So are all recertifications done via Zoom, or are any of them done in person, or is that just a choice that someone could make if they so desire?
From the recertifications,
Yeah.
for the most part, we try to do them through. There's some people who do walk in, and if they just walk in, then we'll go through and work with. We've had some do that, but primarily we've been conducting them, either telephonically, mostly telephonically.
Okay.
Very
Is there-
few we do on Zoom.
Is there a provision when folks do not have access to being able to speak? Has that been thought of? If they cannot speak?
If they cannot speak,
Yeah, they have a.
then we make accommodations for them.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I'm done now.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, we'll move on to the vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 21-10, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Very much. That concludes ordinances and resolutions. Next item is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which I am aware. And hearing no other unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. We have one item of new business, which is a decision about going into closed session. Mr. Kavachi.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session at the conclusion of this meeting under the statutory authority to close sessions under general provisions, Article 3-305B. Number 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials whom this body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. And number 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. The motion to go into a closed session at the conclusion of our regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
And the second, motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and we will do so. The next item is departmental reports. Ms. Inholz.
Thank you, sir. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. A couple of housekeeping items for you. The city will be looking for a finance director very soon. So if any of you who are listening have experience as a finance director, we'd love to hear from you. Keep your eyes posted on the city website for that. Speaking of new hires, we have a new clerk who will be starting on January 4th. So the next time this body meets, we will have a clerk. I am happy to turn over those duties back where they belong, out of my desk. Couple of other items. I have been working with Dr. Wack at the health department to come up with a flow chart of how and when to deal with COVID once we have experienced it on the city staff, both from the tracing side of things and the testing, and then also the quarantine timelines and timetables. So that's been very helpful. He's come up with a bit of a flow chart for me, and we will develop that into a policy to make sure that all the department heads know when to send someone when someone has been tested positive or been in the room with someone who's tested positive, and so on and so forth. What else do we have here? I'm working with the planning director to secure a charrette process for Main Street, specifically from Pennsylvania to Longwell. For those of you who are not familiar, a charrette process is like a group think kind of process with a bunch of architects or planning students, and thinking through ways that we can unify the look or the feel of the downtown area. Those kinds of things frequently involve lots of conversations. So conversations with elected officials, conversations with business owners, conversations with residents, perhaps the college students as well, staff, et cetera, et cetera. The result of a charrette process are a series of boards or plans or drawings that then, for example, a business can take to a sign company or to a painting company and say, I'd like to paint the outside of my building like this, and here's the plan to do so. So we're really excited to try to secure that process. So more to come. We mentioned that at the downtown business community meeting. Any questions before I start rolling on to department heads here? Okay, I'm going to start with our IT departments. We have some exciting and sad news at the same time. Mr. Davidson will be retiring with the city next week. Dan, I can't see David. So Davidson started with the city in 2001 and has been serving in a variety of roles since then. He has been instrumental in protecting our information systems and currently in leading our IT team. We wish him the very best, and we're so grateful for all that you've brought the city. So I know on behalf of the mayor and council, and certainly on behalf of the staff, thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to serve. I wish everybody a happy holidays. That's all I work for tonight.
Thanks, Dave.
Already working towards that retirement, right?
Happy retirement.
All right, so we're going to move on to housing now. I want to thank Mr. Brown for his leadership on the Housing Authority's administrative plan, which is the plan that you saw beforehand. It was essential for us to get those changes in order to be in compliance with some federal regulations, which of course is how we access federal funding. And so, as you know, the council process can take a little bit of time. So thankfully, Mr. Brown brought this to my attention quickly after I got here so that we would maintain compliance with that. And also, as I mentioned to you, Mr. Brown identified about $100,000 that we were quickly about to send back to the federal government. Of course, we don't want to do that. And so we were able to make the necessary changes on the finance side of thing in order to recertify those funds and save that $100,000. So thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll turn it over for your report.
Not at all. There's nothing else to add besides what I've already said. Hopefully, as we come back after the new year, there'll be some other things we'll be able to report back to you.
Okay,
Great job, Mr. Brown, with that,
Thank you.
with picking that up.
he is
Thank you.
expert on all things HUD related, and honestly, we wouldn't be sunk without him. So thank you, sir. All right, we're gonna move on to the police department. Again, we want to introduce Mr. Landsman. We are so glad that you're here. We have a lot of things to work on and can't wait to get to those. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, just to touch briefly on some of the things that Mr. Landsman's going to help with. So when Major D'Antuono retired at the end of the summer, he primarily was doing administrative tasks. So Dave's going to take over all of those. And then we also have the body worn camera program that is quite a significant undertaking. There's a lot more to it than it would seem on the surface. Putting it in place, making sure we have the quality control in place, the auditing of the footage, going through it when we have an Information Act request, things like that. So he will be administering that program. And then we have a number of legislative changes that are going to require some differences in processes, ranging from any complaints that might be received from the community to a number of other things. So he'll be helping to make sure that we remain in compliance with all of those. So we welcome Mr. Landsman on. Also, I'm very sad to report our volunteer police chaplain passed this morning. Mr. Wayne Dowdo was, he and his wife were chaplains for the department for a number of years. And he had a brief illness and succumbed to it at Carroll Hospital this morning. So our thoughts are with the Gattos and all his friends and family. And we'll reach out to him when the time's right to see if we can provide official detail at any arrangements.
Yeah, Chief, make sure you let us know too, because I know I'll try to attend. He was a great guy.
Also, we did have our 19th annual holiday shop with a cop event on Saturday. We had 15 children and their families who participated. I think it went wonderfully. Logistics were very well planned. Just to give a brief overview of this event, Walmart awards a grant for $5,000 that we can use, and it gets divvied up into gift cards. And then the children give their shopping holiday wish list, and the families too. And then they pair with a police officer or somebody from our personnel. And it's a great opportunity to bond with the families and the children and to invest in that relationship moving forward. And then also it's just a wonderful feel-good event. So we had that on Saturday. Like Councilman Kawachi mentioned earlier, I met with Dr. Wack, and one of his current jobs is working in the IT data department at Frederick Health Systems. So one of the things that we were able or are acquiring from the OD2A funds through the health department is this software program that will help us to better manage coordination and collaboration regarding overdoses. So Dr. Wack's excited because that's kind of his bailiwick, and he's offered to help us make sure that we get the system up and running to its fullest potential. So I'm excited about that. As Councilman Karachi also touched on earlier, we apprehended a person named Brent Day, who was committing quite a bit of thefts. So on the 27th of November, we got him for thefts from auto and drug possession. The day before that, we got him for thefts from auto. And on the 14th, we got him on a theft from Walmart. And typically, the district court commissioner is reluctant to hold people on a bail for a property crime, but there's a lot of police resources that go into investigating and catching an individual who goes on a spree like this. So it took a few times, but I believe he's currently staying in the detention center until his trial date.
Can we send that clerk a tin of cookies? Thank him for the no bail.
And as Councilman Kavachi mentioned also earlier, from the body worn camera program, we just received word that we got an additional approximately $8,000 from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention to help fund our body worn camera program. So that's in addition to the $5,000 grant we got through Legit. So with that additional $13,000 will allow us to we have the 5-year contract for the 9 cameras plus the in-car transport vehicle camera. This will allow us to obtain an additional 4 cameras for the 5-year period and everything that goes along with it. Essentially, it's a lease. We get all the updates. They're warranted. If we break one, then they replace it. And the docking station charging, all the stuff that goes with it. So we're happy to receive that work. And I believe that's all I have.
Ms. Owens, if I may, Chief, when you buy one of these cameras, I mean, it's great to get the grants to purchase them, but there's a significant cost to the department, isn't it, to manage it and do all those things? Any rough idea of how much each camera is beyond the purchase price it's costing us to manage having it?
So one of the reasons that we decided to do this incrementally, so we have the mandate by 2025 that I have to have. So we wanted to test the waters to see exactly what the staffing requirement will be. Obviously, a lot of it's going to rest on Mr. Landsman's shoulders. The state's attorney's office is putting together an entire unit to field all the digital evidence and data. I know the sheriff's department is looking at multiple people. I think one of the advantages that we'll have being in the type of community that we're in is we'll be able to use some synergy to collaborate with the sheriff's office and some of the other municipalities. I don't think so. It's almost the way that the Motorola contracts the camera system. It's almost like an all-inclusive package over the contracted 5-year period. So outside of the staffing time, as far as review of footage, quality control, audit, going through it for Maryland Public Information Act requests, and then of course the discovery process, I don't think that there'll be too many actual costs above and beyond what we're signing in the contract with Motorola. The data storage is cloud-based. The state's attorney's office will have, we tag the footage by case number. It gets stored in the cloud. When the state's attorney's office needs it for discovery, they'll pull it off the cloud. And so that won't require a lot of behind the scenes stuff for us. The biggest, I think, cost is just the staff time in administering the program. And that's part of the reason why we tailored the change from the deputy chief position to police administrative services manager position. And I think also we'll all chip in. I don't think we're going to see as big a burden as a very large police department would need to undertake for something like this. And we're going to use this initial fiscal year to get a feeling for exactly what we're looking at. We're also told by Motorola that we're looking at approximately 3 to 4 months because of the chip shortage. The cameras are not unlike a lot of other things that everything's on back order for about 3 to 4 months. So that's when we're probably looking at getting the actual cameras in.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, just to, I wanted to follow up on one thing you had mentioned. We're actually not purchasing them, we're leasing them.
Okay.
And I think that's important because, and I know that the chief spent a lot of time, and certainly we've talked about a little bit in committee. There's a lot less onus on our part when they break or need repairs or updates. They're responsible for all of that. That's all part of the lease package. It was definitely, I believe, a better fiscal move. It's also the reason we went with Motorola versus looking at some other potential sources, because the county and the sheriff's department and the state's attorney's office are going to all kind of work together on those. We're not an outlier where we've got to figure out some bridge system to get our stuff to work with theirs. And for instance, the cloud storage is all incorporated with the state's attorney's office, which ultimately is going to be the entity which we're going to need to give this stuff to in a lot of cases anyway. So I think the chief and us on the committee, we spent some time looking at trying to mitigate that cost as best we could by making some of those decisions, which the council supported us doing. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit, Mr. President.
Thanks.
Hearing no additional questions for the police department, let's move on to the recreation department.
Good evening. I wanted to take the opportunity to remind our community that this Saturday is their last opportunity to visit with Santa and embark on a horse-drawn carriage ride around the city. So please, if you haven't done so already, from noon to 4, come out and visit the jolliest guy in town and enjoy the scenery on horse-drawn carriage. In addition to that, we are looking forward, we're currently hosting a Merry Fitness Challenge in the fitness center to keep everybody motivated and attending the gym when schedules get tight this time of year. So those patrons attending the fitness center between December 6th and the 24th, 10 times can enter themselves into a prize drawing. And we are also hosting 2 holiday classes at our fitness center on the 23rd, a Jingle Jam cycle class, one in the morning at 9 and another at 5:30 in the evening. So anyone signing up for those classes will be outfitted with a Santa hat and bells for on their cycle shoes. So we will sound very jolly. And we just received some lights today that sync to the music that will be played in the room. It will be really great fun. And just an incentive to treat yourself when you're so busy providing treats and buying presents for others. So with that being said, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very happy holiday season and to wish Mr. Davidson the best of luck in his retirement. I certainly have enjoyed working with you, and you probably can't say the same for me because of all of the Wi-Fi networks you've had to establish over the city for events, but it really truly has been a pleasure, and I hope that you enjoy your free time.
Thank you.
That concludes my report unless anyone has questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gerber. Let's move on to the Public Works Department. Mr. Dick.
Just want to touch on a few things. Tanya touched on a bunch of them earlier. The 140 force main leak that happened in front of Goodyear. Our guys, once they were able to work on the road, since it was in the state highway, had it done in about 5 hours, which was pretty impressive. Kept the hole small, so we didn't have to close down 140, which was also a blessing in disguise there a little bit. But they did a great job of exposing it. They tried to clamp it, couldn't, actually had to make the hole bigger and remove a whole section of pipe, and they did a good job on that. Wanted to touch on leaf pickup was extended 1 week. That'll end this Friday on the 17th, which they're going to be glad so they can get caught up on everything else because the leaves fell late this year and created quite the problem for them. After this weekend, they're down now.
They're down now. Next up, fiber drops are still coming in good. I know at the end of November, we were at citywide of 32% take. So I'll be anxious to see at the end of this month where we're at. Good. Rather than that, the college tank, which was touched on, they were moving along really well. It's power washed. They were supposed to be probably start priming tomorrow. They are planning on they'd like to have it done before Christmas. Wow. They are working Saturdays and I believe Sundays if the weather is cooperating. So that's going quick and we'll be done and look good. I&I Phase 4 went out. That bid is actually due on the 17th. So hopefully beginning of January, we'll be bringing that from you. Other than that, Ms. Davison, it's been great working with you. Happy retirement. And I'm sure we'll see you around. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holidays. And on behalf of Jeff as well, because I'm sure he'd say the same thing. Have a great holiday. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to HR. Right now, it looks like we have Ms. McCullough on Zoom. Is that still accurate? There she goes.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. No report this evening for the Human Resources Department.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. The HR department has been working tirelessly to make sure everyone's tested after they've been exposed, and that takes an enormous amount of time. So thank you, Ms. McCullough, for that. Mayor and Council, the finance report is this. The budget is coming up in the very near future. And I'll be sort of handling that on my own over here. So, and this is my first budget with the mayor and council. Lots of exciting things going on. So I would like for you to think about what your own personal wish list items are that you want us to consider putting into the budget. In the past, everywhere I've worked, mayor and council has come up individually with an item they've always wished we'd change, put a light pole here, change the meters here, whatever it is, change the park. What is your wish list for this budget year? Can't promise it's going to happen, but I'd like to hear what it is. If it's a huge ticket item, we may have to plan for future out years, but I'd like to hear what it is. So if you could start thinking that through, get back to me in mid-January, what your wish list item is for me. Notice how I said wish list item.
Just one.
Lists. Give me what you've got and we'll work through what makes sense for this year and what makes sense for next year so that we can plan for those items.
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi.
So does that also include if our wish list is taking things out of the budget? Not having? Can I give that to you?
I wasn't gonna wish for anything in honor of you, so.
Sorry.
I'm just shaking my head.
Mr. Kavachi, I thought you were going to say I could have whatever I would like.
I think we should just move on.
We are going to end tonight with the planning department. I know we think of the planning department as the folks who deal with site plans, but in the month of November and the month of December, this was also the department that was helping put together the holiday market. They were putting together a small business Saturday. They were reaching out to American Express. Those of you that have an American Express card, you received an email suggesting that you could go visit a local business. And because of the planning department, those local businesses in your email were actually local to Westminster.
They were, yeah.
They were also working on the passport program, and Westminster had the largest business community to participate. And they also had the largest number of people to visit the businesses in Westminster. And finally, they've been instrumental in the downtown business community meetings, which you've praised me for, but a lot of that is from the planning department as well. So no further ado, Mr. Depot.
Thank you. On November 11th, the Planning and Zoning Commission conditionally approved Stonegate Section 6 record plat. This is the last plat for Stonegate. It consists of 225 single-family detached dwellings. The Board of Zoning Appeals and Historic District Commission did not have a meeting this month. We have collected the small business Saturday shopping passports. And on Wednesday, December 15th, we will be choosing 20 winners at random to receive a $50 gift certificate good at any passport business. And we are doing this collectively with other downtowns Wednesday morning. The holiday market has been mentioned at 29 West Main Street. This is the last weekend for the holiday market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. However, good news, we do have the winter market starting up in January, also weekends from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'll have more information about that next meeting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wellminster. I appreciate all your work that you did.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff.
Mr. President, that concludes the department reports.
All right, thank you, Ms. Imhoff, and let me say, first of all, thanks to Mr. Davidson. Position was created for you as director. We appreciate your setting up the department. Thanks for all your good work, and thanks for protecting the city's cybersecurity. You've done a great job with that, and we very much appreciate your good work. And we wish you a happy retirement, and look forward to seeing you around town.
Mr. President. I do a fire department report.
No, Ms. Imhoff didn't call it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Mr. DeHaan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Report on behalf of the Westminster Fire Department. The total calls for the month of November were 574. The EMS calls were 483 EMS calls during the month of November. Fire calls were 91. We had 320 of the calls were in the city limits. 210 were just outside the city. Number of overlapping calls were 316 or 55%. We had one significant fire on December the 1st. That, of course, was not in November, but I think that got quite a bit of attention in the press. It was a very dangerous fire and it'll be studied a good bit. The Westminster Fire Department Santa Run started this evening. Santa Claus this evening did not look like me, but perhaps in the next couple of days that might change. Santa begins his trips around 6 o'clock and generally concludes around 8:30. They will be tonight, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. And that concludes my report. Mr. President, Ms. Imholz, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Final item on our agenda tonight is citizens' comments, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comments. Now, for those of you who are here in person, is there anyone with us tonight who wishes to be heard?
All right.
Mr. Dominic,
All right.
please state your name and address for the record.
Joe Dominic, 345 Meadow Creek Drive, Westminster, Maryland. I was working on a project that I think the city would be interested in. I just wanted to kind of fill you in on what's happening with it in case there was something you'd like to do to coincide with it. It started when I was sitting up there with you guys. The matter of Ellsworth Cemetery came before us, and I did not know very much about it before it did. It was something that's kind of been in the back of my mind ever since it had come up. And I believe it came up like right before the pandemic. I believe we all wanted to do something about it. And then like a lot of things we wanted to do something about, the pandemic hit and it just got put on the back burner. But the reason I'm bringing it up is we're doing a pro bono website. We are trying to tell the story of the cemetery and all the people that are laid to rest there. And it's been very interesting to learn about that. So we're doing that. Part of the website is going to be a timeline, kind of like an infographic type thing. So the very end of that timeline, I thought might be a really great place for the annexation into the city. So I wanted to bring that up, put it in front of people's minds to be discussed. I'm working with a group of people that have been taking care of the actual cemetery, mowing the grass, restoring some of the headstones. But there are some headstones, for instance, that they're afraid to restore or clean because they're so far gone. They need someone that's more professional. They do that for a profession. So they've gotten some grant money. I believe there's more grant money available if they were inside the city. The end of that infographic would look great if it said annexed into the city, and I think that would be a really great thing. And I just wanted to bring everybody, in the loop. I'm working with a group of, from Ellsworth. It's like a volunteer group, and they're, I think, becoming more formalized. I had a meeting with them this morning. Some people from the Historic Society, and we've reached out to NAACP. We're trying to make it a collaborative thing. It wouldn't be totally collaborative if we weren't collaborating with the city. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. If anybody wants to talk more about it or discuss it or have any questions, reach out to me individually or by committee, whatever you want to do. So I just wanted to give everyone an update on that. That's it. And I also want to apologize. If I had known that Councilman Cavacci had the world's largest holly tree. No, not a He has the galaxy's greatest.
The galaxy's greatest.
I let that slip by.
Yeah, I mean, all those years and you never said anything. 4 years.
The odds are pretty slim that there are other holly trees outside of the earth in the galaxy. So
But in case there are.
It may well be the galaxy. Thank you, Mr. Dominic. And we did actually express some interest in annexation at the time. And so last Ms. Imholz and her staff to go ahead and take a look at that for us.
And as ironic as it is, I believe Mr. Gordon was sitting approximately in that same seat.
Oh, man.
When it was.
We're losing control, Mr. President.
We're getting back on track. Thank you. All right. Anyone, thank you, Mr. Dominic, for joining us. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Funny.
All right. Well, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, January 10th. We've previously announce that we will be canceling the meeting on December 27th. And with that, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season. And without objection, we are adjourned. Have a great holiday.